Hi, I'm Lolly Leger, CEO of Medical Cost Managers, part of the Trinity Insurance Services Group. Today we'd like to talk about Medicare Set Asides and what you should know or should be doing with regard to Medicare Set Asides. First, let me tell you what a Medicare Set Aside is. Some 15 years ago, Congress passed a law to protect the interest of Medicare. Medicare was, and probably still is, going broke. What was happening was a claim would occur, workers' comp claim or an auto liability claim, and the individual would get an attorney or would make the claim directly, and a settlement ensued if the claim was owed. That settlement always includes future medical as part of the settlement. So, for example, you might have a claim that settled for several $100,000 with $200,000 of that settlement being designated for future medical. Before the Medicare Set Aside law, or what's known as the Medicare Secondary Payers Act, what would happen was the money was paid out to the individual making the claim and or to him, her, and their attorney, and they promptly over the next several years blew the money that was for future medical. They went out and bought a boat, or they went out and bought a motor home, whatever. They just blew it. And then, of course, they were truly injured, so they really had additional medical or future medical. And when it came to paying for that medical, the money that was designated to pay for that medical was gone. So what they did was they filed for Medicare. And you and I made up the difference and paid that money, even though that individual was already paid for Medicare. Thus, the bankrupting or the almost bankrupting of Medicare. So what the Medicare Secondary Payers Act says is that when you make such a settlement, you will protect the interest of Medicare. And this law started off, it really wasn't enforced for a long time. The situation at Medicare continued to deteriorate, and so they decided to enforce the law. They fined several insurance companies several $1 million, and everybody started paying attention. So they started off with workers' compensation. And so in the last 4 or 5 years, when you settled a workers' compensation claim, you had to take the interest of Medicare into account. That meant that you had to have a qualified registered nurse or a physician look over and project the future medical on the claim that was at hand. That money was then not given to the individual, not given to his or her attorney, but set aside in a trust to pay the future medical. In the beginning of 2013, all liability claims became subject to Medicare Set Asides. So now, every casualty claim, every workers' compensation claim, you have to take into consideration the interest of Medicare. I believe there's a $25,000 limit. Any claim above $25,000 or where the claimant is within 3 years of Medicare eligibility, a Medicare Set Aside should be done. If you're not doing Medicare Set Asides now, just to note, there's a $1,000 a day fine for any claim that should have had a Medicare Set Aside done and it wasn't done. So in the next several years, you'll begin to see fines come down for people as they discover what happened and that these weren't done. People are going to start getting fined. So all of the insurance companies and all of the self-insured entities, corporations that self-insure for the first several $100,000 of every claim, are responsible for doing this. They're what's known as a registered reporting entity, and they have to begin taking Medicare's interest into account and doing a Medicare Set Aside. You can get these done at Medical Cost Managers, www.medicalcostmanagers.com.